Good evening, council, staff, and members of the public. May I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? Deputy Cabral and Councillor Garwood, that the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Springwater on May 17th, 2023 come to order at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Please rise for the national anthem. Our home and native land, through patriot love, in all sun's coming. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, now we stand on guard. Thank you. Council, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? And seeing none, before I do move on, I will be addressing the accusations of malfeasance made at our last meeting. The accusation was made on more than one attempt and was in breach of our code of conduct, specifically section 17.1.
Mayor Coughlin.
Outlining the decorum.
Point of order, Mayor Coughlin, that does not apply in this case. I think if you're going to refer to something in the procedure, especially section 17, you should make yourself familiar with it first.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Cabral. Whereby all members shall behave in an acceptable manner. A member shall not use profanity, make derogatory statements, innuendo, inference, or utterances suggesting wrongdoing or of other such offense, at risk of being expelled from the chamber or meeting at the discretion of the chair. In my position as mayor and chair, I cannot require a member to acknowledge or apologize for misconduct outside the meeting of which it was displayed. However, it was requested. While the perception of the position of mayor is often aligned with such in the private sector, I am not a boss. Members of council do not report or answer to me in my elected position. We answer to our residents. I will not be seeking an integrity commissioner's investigation, as I do not believe the outcome warrants the use of taxpayers' dollars nor corporate time and deflating energy. The end result of a process would result in an acknowledgement and apology, which is easily and simply obtained when members hold themselves accountable. My judgment as chair to allow this to go unaddressed and the accusations were directed at me is inexcusable. I do apologize. My intention this evening is to ensure that council, staff, and members of the public that moving forward, I will adhere to the code of conduct approved by council, ensuring that the respect for the offices we hold is evident and that the decorum of this chamber is respectful. Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. As you've so conveniently addressed the procedure policy in a fashion that really doesn't apply because the member was not expelled from council chambers. And had that been the case, it would have taken a majority of council to do that. But you did also bring up the code of conduct, and I'd like to actually draw your attention to section 14, encouragement of respect for township and bylaws. 14.1 states, a member shall encourage the public, prospective contractors, and members of the public and their colleagues to abide by the township's bylaws and policies, including this code, and B, accurately communicate the decisions of council, even if they disagree with the majority decision of council, and by doing so affirm the respect and integrity in the decision-making process of council. I would suggest, Mayor, the head of council's posting onto her mayor's Facebook page of a direct link to an online digital petition seeking to overturn a majority decision of council certainly doesn't seem to serve to affirm the respect and integrity of the decision-making process of council. Of all members of council, one would believe that the mayor, who just finished speaking about decorum and how we should be following it, would be the last one to engage in this type of activity and disrespect the integrity of this decision-making process of council. And I too was of the mind that maybe I should be reaching out to the integrity commissioner. And I decided maybe that wasn't the appropriate thing to do. But seeing as you've taken it upon yourself to chastise one member of council who, in your opinion, did something incorrect, I don't feel the same way. This here, however, is a violation of the code of conduct.
Thank you, Deputy Cabral. May I have a mover and seconder to call the public meeting to order? Deputy Cabral and Councillor Alexander. That this meeting of council held under section 34 of the Planning Act for zoning bylaw amendment ZB 2023-007 by D and K Trace and V Knuff, zoning bylaw amendment ZB 2023-009 by K Substance be called to order at 6:36 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Welcome to this public meeting of Springwater Township Council, held in compliance under Section 34 of the Planning Act to give the public an opportunity to express their views in regards to the proposed amendments to the Township of Springwater zoning bylaw as amended. The first part of this meeting is to present the amendment. Following, the public will be given an opportunity to make an oral submission through the Zoom application or in person. Any person wishing to make an oral submission is to have notified the township prior to 8:30 a.m. this morning and been added to the commenters list. If a person or public body who files an appeal of a decision of the Township of Springwater in respect to zoning bylaw amendment does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or written submissions to the township before the zoning amendment is passed, the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss all or part of the appeal. All comments or questions should be addressed through the chair. Oral submissions will be included in the meeting's minutes and form part of a public record, including the name and address of the speaker. As information is collected under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection Privacy Act, the minutes of the meeting will be posted on the township's website. ZB 2023-07 by D Trace for 2080 Floss Road 11 West. I will now call upon the clerk to confirm notice of this meeting on the dates which notice has been given.
Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 27th day of April, 2023 to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 11 properties in the township of Springwater within 240 meters of the area to which the proposed amendments would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies at a location that was visible from Floss Road 11 West. The notice was also placed on the township's website.
Has the planning department received any correspondence in response to the notice of public meeting?
Correspondence has been received from Enbridge in an email dated May 8th, 2023, and from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority in an email dated May 17th, 2023.
Thank you. I will now call upon Dan Trace and Dave Spring to give a presentation outlining the purpose and effect of the proposal.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin and council. This is just simply a surplus farm dwelling severance. We are purchasing the farmland, adding to our existing holdings of farmland in the township. And the vendor, Mr. Trace, is retaining the farm buildings and the house. And that's part of the severance. He's retaining those lots. We're taking the farmland. So it's basically just a straightforward severance.
Thank you. I will now call upon the moderator to provide the number of people who have registered to ask questions or make comments regarding the application. Moderator
Thank you.
Cox?
There are no commenters registered to make oral submission.
Thank you. Do any members of council have any questions or comments regarding these applications? Deputy Cabral?
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Spring. Mr. Spring, I take this would be termed a farm consolidation severance.
Correct.
And that's how it would be applied for as well.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through you to Director Spagnell. Just curious why this just didn't go in front of the Committee of Adjustments like they usually do.
Director Spagnell.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, through to Councillor Moore. The application before council tonight is a condition of approval that was implemented and imposed by the Committee of Adjustment. So it's a rezoning to move the farmland into an agricultural consolidation zone. So this has been before the committee, and this is a zoning that was required as a condition of approval by the Committee of Adjustment.
Thank you. Any other members of council have any questions or comments? And seeing none, thank you to all who participated in the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and for showing interest in the matter. Thank you.
Thanks.
We will now move on to ZB 2023-009 by Kay Stubbins for 1386 Penetanguishene Road. I will now call upon the clerk to confirm notice of this meeting and to which dates the notice was given.
Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 27th day of April, 2023 to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 12 properties in the township of Springwater within 240 meters of the area to which the proposed amendments would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies at a location that was visible from Penetanguishene Road. The notice was also placed on the township's website.
Has the planning department received any correspondence in response to the notice of public meeting?
Correspondence was received from Enbridge in an email dated May 8th, 2023, and from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority in an email dated May 17th, 2023.
Thank you. I will now call upon Kyle Stubbins to present outlining the purpose of the effect of this proposal.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Kyle Stubbins. I'm the owner of 1386 Penetanguishene Road in the community of Dalston. My application is for the rezoning of my property from agricultural to agricultural exception for the purpose of building a 24 by 60-foot barn with the second floor having a maximum height of 16.5 feet. This is to be used entirely for home industry. I call it a barn as the building has been designed with a gambrel style roof, which is the typical roof shape of the barns in our area. I used to have a 100-year-old barn behind our property, which I used to love to look at. Unfortunately, is no longer there as they're vanishing. I believe my proposed building will fit right in with our local landscape and can only hope that it stands for the next 100 years to provide generations of usefulness to those who follow me. The building has been designed with the least impact on the surrounding environment as possible. It is outside of the NVCA restricted areas in our local area, does not impact farming lands, nor does it impact our local environment by cutting down trees, etc. It will be built within the current landscape. The main floor will be a workshop, and the second floor will accommodate a gallery showroom, not only for the products that I create, but for other local artists and craftspeople. I believe this will be a good fit for the community of Dalston and as well as the township of Springwater by promoting local business and artists. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now call upon the moderator to provide the number of people who have registered to ask questions or make comments regarding the application. Moderator Hawk.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. There are no commenters registered to make oral submission for this application.
Thank you. I will turn to members of council. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding this application? And seeing none, that was simple. Thank you to all who participated in the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and for showing interest in the matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
May I have a mover and seconder to adjourn the public meeting? Councillors Thompson and Moore. That this public meeting of the council held under sections 34 of the Planning Act for applications ZB 2023-007 Trace and ZB 2023-009 Stubbins now does adjourn at 6:44 p.m. May I have a mover and seconder to approve the report regarding ZB 2023-007 Trace, 2080 Floss Road 11 West. Deputy Cabral and Councillor Garwood, that the report from the senior planner regarding ZB 2023-007 dated May 17th, 2023 be received, and that bylaw 5,370 be presented to council for consideration and approval on May 17th, 2023, subject to comments received at the public meeting. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that has carried. May I have a mover and seconder to refer ZB 2023-009 Stebbins back to staff? Councillors Moore and Alexander, that the council, having held a public meeting in accordance with section 34 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 CP 13 as amended on zoning bylaw amendment ZB 2023-009 by K Stebbins, having noted correspondence and input be received, that the application be referred back to staff. Are there any questions or discussion? And seeing none, all those in favor? And that has carried. I will now call upon Marcus Bai. Did I get it right? No. Bai, thank you. To present a delegation regarding the Midhurst Tennis Club regarding the summer program and court usage at the Doran Park. Please join us.
Good evening. My name is Marcus Vahi. I'm an executive member and representative of the Midhurst Tennis Club. I'd like to be brief this evening with you, your worship, to members of council and to staff members. Midhurst Tennis Club is starting its 2023 season next week, and with recommendations of Brianna Dean, the manager of Parks and Recreation Facilities, and Councillor Phil Fisher of Ward 5, we would like to bring forward to the agenda a proposal of court usage time. Midhurst Tennis Club was founded in 1979 when Forest Hill Public School had 2 tennis courts. Midhurst Tennis Club moved to Doran Park facility to continue summer tennis programs. We're currently a nonprofit and volunteer-based club. Over the years, the Midhurst Tennis Club has served the community by providing introductions into tennis, junior programming, and adult programming at the recreational level. The Midhurst Tennis Club partnered with the township back in 2016 to construct a pavilion and also raised $20,000 for the project, which is now attached to the public washroom facilities at Doran Park. Additionally, our members range from the ages of 4 through 90 years of age. Every year, the Midhurst Tennis Club makes charitable donations towards organizations such as Heart and Stroke Foundation, Alzheimer's Society, and Special Olympics Ontario, to name a few. The reason why we are here before you today is to request the additional usage of Court 4, Monday to Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. to the 2023 season. Post-COVID, the game of tennis has become more popular, and this season we have an overwhelming response for membership of requests. As of May 10th, our membership includes a total of 58 junior members, a total of 115 adult members on Monday nights from 7 to 9, 38 players, Tuesday night, 7 to 9 p.m., 44 players, Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m., 26 players, Thursday night, 7 to 9 p.m., 34 players, and Friday night, 7 to 9 p.m., 34 players as well. Currently, we utilize 3 of the 4 courts during our program times and are requesting additional approval to utilize Court 4 from 7 to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday to accommodate the number of players. We hope that the members of council will approve this request, as we are currently turning away and waitlisting additional members that wish to play and take part in our programs. Thank you for your time, and we will answer any questions you may have regarding our request.
Thank you very much. Council, may I have a mover and seconder to receive the delegation? Councillors Thompson and Fisher. Council, is there any questions or comments? And Councillor Thompson.
Through the chair, thank you for the presentation. Just a question. Membership in the Midhurst Tennis Association, are there any residency requirements that they be a member, a resident of Springwater to be a member?
There are no current residency requirements. However, right now we stand about for our juniors, 2/3 of them are residents of Midhurst Tennis. However, we don't have an accurate number for a number of adult members, just because over post-COVID, we didn't require an address because most of our memberships came through online. And so they mainly just need an email address. But from our own records, we can estimate that the majority of members, about 60% of our adult members, are from the township of Springwater.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? And seeing none, that the delegation from Marcus of the tennis club, I'll just go with that, regarding the summer program and court usage at Dorham Park be received. All those in favor? And that has carried. And Deputy Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Since we were asking questions of this gentleman, Mr. Vahi, I did want to ask some questions of our recreational staff with respect to tennis courts in the township. Would that still be appropriate to do?
Thank you. What we can do is we can actually pull the item up on the agenda and then we can have the discussion at that time if that suits. I would like to just move to question period at this time to ensure that if there's any members of the public that wish to question it. So members of the public are invited to ask questions to council. Is there anyone in the gallery this evening that would like to ask questions on the agenda? And I do. Yes, please come forward. And I'm just going to ask that you state your name and address. And actually the presentation is complete and then we will be addressing it after the question period. Thank you. I'm going to have to ask that you state your name and address and remind you that there is 2 minutes for the questions.
Okay, my name is Deborah McLean, address 12 Floss Crescent, Elmville. I'm not here on behalf of myself. I'm here on behalf of my husband, who was supposed to be here, Scott McLean, making a presentation or asking questions regarding the digital sign. Unfortunately, he's fighting a fire, so last minute, I put on a different hat. I don't know if you want me to speak to the issues now or wait till it comes up on the agenda. It is regarding the digital sign and usage.
That's great. Thank you, Deb. This is actually the opportunity to do so. If you
Okay.
can. raise this
The
comment.
digital sign, as everyone knows, was a partnership with the Lions Club. And it is believed that the use of the sign should be for community purposes. Having reviewed this township staff report and the policy in place, the Lions Club does not feel that that covers community use. It is being used for township use. It is being used for large group, i.e. Maple Syrup Fall Fair, and items approved by the township. There are several items that were always advertised on that sign that the Lions Club would like to have continue, i.e. EDHS Day, different items for the food bank. Various churches use the sign to advertise turkey dinners, roast beef dinners. Presbyterian Church always has a fundraiser when there's disaster in the area. The Horticulture Society has used that. One of the items that was put in the policy or there was staff recommendation was the cost of having some of these things done. Realize that there's going to be a cost initially until whoever's running this, gets familiar with program, etc. But a lot of these events are annual events. So it would be a one-time type of organization. And then it would just be a matter, I assume, that you just save things and then next year you just change the date for when the event is going to be. But having discussed it with my husband, having discussed with other Lions members, and having you each received my letter on behalf of the food bank regarding the Smile campaign, then I think you need to address some of these issues in the policy that is being proposed.
Thank you.
That's all I have to.
No, I appreciate you coming forward. Thank you
Well,
for
as I
that.
said,
Yes, the assistant this evening.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
no problem.
exactly.
No,
Like, I
we-
waited until 5 to 6. Are you going to be home? No, I'm fighting a fire. So,
Well, we can appreciate that. And we will actually pull that item up behind the first
so
item.
should I
You
stay?
can stay if you would like, and we will get to it as quick as we can here.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank all members of council.
Thank you. I just need to move through our minutes first. So may I have a mover and seconder to approve the minutes of council? I have councillors Moore and Fisher. That the minutes of council listed here and be approved as presented. The minutes of the regular meeting of May 3rd, 2023, The minutes of the special meeting of council on May 3rd, 2023 at 3 p.m. and the minutes of the special meeting of council closed session May 3rd, 2023 at 3 p.m. Minutes of the special meeting of council on May 3rd, 2023 at 5 p.m. Are there any questions or comments on these minutes? And seeing none, all those in favor? And that has carried. And may I have a mover and seconder to receive the minutes of boards and committees and organizations? I have Deputy Cabral and Councillor Alexander that the minutes of the boards and committees of the organizations listed herein be received for information. The minutes of the Agricultural Advisory Committee of April 25th, 2023, and our draft minutes of the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority Board meeting on April 28th, 2023. Are there any questions on these minutes? And seeing none, all in favor? And that has carried. And may I have a mover and seconder for the options report regarding the request for additional court usage for the Midhurst Tennis Club? Councillors Moore and Alexander, that the report of the manager of Parks and Recreation and Facilities regarding the quest for additional court usage, Midhurst Tennis Club dated May 17th, 2023 be received, and that council provide direction with option 1 or 2 below. Option 1, that the Midhurst Tennis Club usage allocation of the Doran Park tennis courts remain status quo for their 2022 schedule as outlined in Appendix 1. Or option 2, that the Midhurst Tennis Club be approved for the additional use of court 4 Monday to Friday, 7 to 9 for the 2023 season. I will now open the floor up for comment of council. I have Councillors Moore and Deputy Cabral.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Coughlin. I'm curious to know what the demand is from the public who doesn't belong to the tennis club to use that spare court. So I think if I understand correctly, if there was a lot of people waiting outside to use that court, or if they're interfering, that would change the way I would vote. Or if that court is just always empty and available. So I need some information, please.
I can turn to Manager Dean to see if there's any additional information.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and through yourself to Councillor Moore and the rest of council. So unfortunately, we do not have statistics on the demand of usage or how often that court would be used from 7 to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday, as well as other times. So from kind of the creation of the agreement, there is the clause in it that court 4 shall remain open for public passive use. So essentially that way, if all 3 courts are being used and anyone comes to the tennis courts to play, there is a court available for them to play. But unfortunately, we don't have statistics or records on what the demand would be, or if there's kind of a waiting line outside of the courts during those time slots.
Follow on, Councillor Moore.
Through your Mayor Coughlin, then if you would allow, I'd like to ask Mr. Vahi, I should have asked earlier, but I'd like to ask him because you will be acutely aware if people are standing around waiting or not. Yes, please.
If you could join us at the podium, please.
For the times of 7 to 9 p.m. from Monday to Friday, we often do not have people lining up. If anything, we used to not even use the 4th court until post-COVID. We had such an increase in numbers, so it's not really been truly an issue before. So sometimes we would come up, different members from the public would come in and look at us and question what we're doing there. It's because our signage hasn't always been great, but overall, they would come in and we would get off that 4th court if we had been using it potentially. But overall, we would never use the 4th court before COVID, but since COVID, our membership and demand has increased.
Follow on, Councillor Moore, and then I do have Deputy Cabral.
Thank you. So more times than not, if you are using the court, are you able to finish your games uninterrupted then, or are people standing around waiting for you to get off so that they can use the 4th
We're
court?
able to finish uninterrupted if we are using the courts, and if there is someone who is waiting, we immediately get off after 20 minutes of play.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I think that was probably my concern is to have the court available for residents. And I would, I guess, direct to, and having heard your presentation, I'm going to have to make the assumption that tennis may be more popular for the average person too, maybe in our township, that all of a sudden this summer is the summer that they do want to utilize that fourth court. So it might be inconvenience, but I think for me, possibly to actually tie it up, I think might be a disservice to the rest of our residents. The other question, and this one through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Manager Dean, is what other tennis court facilities are available within the township? I'm not familiar with. I'll be honest with you, I'm not familiar with them. I know that the ones in Elmville have not been in service. Well, they're gone now, I think. So I don't know where else we could play tennis. If I was a resident in Springwater and wanted to go play, where would I go?
Manager Dean?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, through yourself to the Deputy Mayor. So the township has the 4 courts at Doran Park. They have an individual court at Berry Hill Park, so Berry Hill Road and Seaton Road, and they have they have the multi-purpose court that has 1 tennis court at Stone Manor on the Victoria Wood Avenue and Daly Court Park. So 2 additional courts outside of the ones at Doran Park.
Thank you, Manager Dean. I did have Councillor Fisher.
Question.
Councillor Thompson?
Just a comment, as an avid tennis player, Midhurst has one of the best surfaces in the area, let alone Springwater, and I would be in favor of status quo. I think that we should respect the taxpayers of Springwater and make at least 1 court available to them. And again, we significant amount, like even if 40% of the members are Barrie residents, it would not be my concern to give them access, guaranteed access to our courts. So I'd be in favor of keeping that 1 court free and allowing the taxpayers of Springwater access to that.
Thank you. I have Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And just to clarify, the court would still be free or available. It's just becoming unavailable for those 2 hours. Is that the accurate assumption? If that's the case, I think if there's a need and the group is growing, I would absolutely support that.
Yeah. And I have Deputy Cabral.
Sorry, Mayor Coughlin, I'm not sure I understand what Councillor Garwood actually just said. So if he could clarify his comment, please.
Councillor
I don't know
Garwood.
what side of the fence you're sitting on. I'd like to know. Thanks.
What court I'm in? Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I was referencing what Councillor Thompson was asking was keeping the court open. Well, if we are only closing the court for 2 hours, the court is still open for a majority of the day. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to. Is that correct? We're just talking about 2 hours, Monday through Friday. If that is the case, then I am in support of the delegation coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And for clarification, before I do go to Councillor Fisher, Manager Dean, this is for the 2023 season. So if we as a council do experience that this is not something and we're not able to do that. And the other question I had was for Homer Barrett, when did those courts become available?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, through yourself and to the rest of council. So this request, yes, is for the 2023 season. So each year, the Midhurst Tennis Club does submit a letter to the township to request the court usage for the season. So this year, the additional usage request has come in for that court for 7 to 9 p.m. And to kind of tag on to that to Councillor Garwood's question. So yes, from my understanding with the request right now, court 4 would remain open to the public for passive use outside of 7 to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday evenings. And Mayor Coughlin, sorry to address your second question. So currently there is money set aside to have courts put back in Elmville through our recreation master plan update. Hopefully we hope as staff that will provide guidance to where those courts should be built in Elmville and what type of court it should be. So whether that be kind of a multi-purpose court or whether it be solely a tennis court similar to what was in Elmville in the past.
Thank you. And Deputy Cabral? and then Counselor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And I was curious about the open closed. But I think what I actually heard from Mr. Bahi himself with respect to the 2 hours is that if they are running their programs from 7 to 9, there are times when they've been able to utilize that court. And there have also been times, according to Mr. Bahi, where they have played their 20 minutes and then opened up the court to residents who are there to play. So that would indicate to me that there have been times when our residents have attended there between 7 and 9 to utilize that court, and you've accommodated them. I would be more prone to say that that's how we should continue this year, only so that those residents who do show up, I mean, at least they're being accommodated. And you still have the ability to continue to utilize that court when no one is in attendance to play. So I'm not particular. I appreciate the presentation. I'm glad that the group is growing, but I have to be cognizant of the residents of Springwater and be accommodating to them to at least have one court available to them in the south end for them to utilize. So I'm more in support of the status quo going into 2023.
Thank you. And I have Counselor Fisher.
Through you to Mr. Vahi, sort of piggybacking on what Deputy Mayor Cabral said, would it be possible to use Court 4? However, when residents do show up and want to use it, your players would vacate that court. Would that be correct? Yeah? And is that the status quo that you're adhering to at the present?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As of right now, Court 4 is public use. It's just that we were asking for the potential to use it if it's not in use. Right, instead of just having our programs limited to the 3 courts, we're looking to have that 4th court open to the potential of having it.
And I'm just gonna, I'm gonna ask for clarification on that, because what I have learned through your delegation.
Sorry.
If I can just have clarification that,
Yeah, 7 to 9, sorry.
so it would remain open
Yes, remain open.
for the other hours a day. And while I do understand that, I know if you're someone who works or someone who has a family, that 7 to 9 window is pretty much the most optimal time to have passive recreation. I mean, if your kids are younger, maybe not, but it is, unfortunately, it's the prime time of the day for that. So I appreciate the clarification. Deputy Cabral?
Thank you. I'm going to step back into it one more time. So what I'm really hearing from you is that you want to be able to utilize all 4 courts from 7 to 9, but you're prepared to open up Court 4 if a resident shows up and wants to play. Is that what I'm hearing? Because I'm okay with that. I get the impression what you want to do is tie up 4 courts from 7 to 9 specifically for the Midhurst Tennis Club.
Sorry, the initial request was for the 7 to 9 for all 4 courts.
Yes, and that's why I'm kind of wanted clarification, because unfortunately I won't be able to support that. I think it's available to you if no one is using it, but I think residents should have an opportunity. It's going to be the only court that's available in the evening, Monday through Friday. And for folks who work through the day, that might be the only time that they might want to go play tennis. So thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Fisher?
Again, just for a bit more clarity, the status quo right now throughout the summer, you would use the 4th court, right? However, you would vacate that. So you are getting the use out of the 4th court. However, you would vacate it if somebody else, another resident comes.
Yes.
Yes, right. After a 20-minute period, you would vacate the court. So if I'm hearing this correctly, you are getting the use of the 4th court, maybe the majority of the time, as the status quo sits right now.
As it says, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Council, if there are no further comments or questions, if I could have someone propose either option 1 or 2. And I have Deputy Cabral.
Yes, Mayor Coughlin, through you, I'd like to propose option number 1, status quo. I think we would be able to maybe revisit this next year, and maybe we'll have additional tennis facilities available, but I would prefer to see option 1 for this particular season.
Thank you. May I have a seconder for that? Councillor Alexander? Any further comments or questions on option one, that the tennis club usage allocation for the Doran Park tennis courts remain status quo to their 2022 schedule as outlined in appendix 1? And I do have Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Is it possible to, I don't know if this is the right time or not, but to ask staff to potentially do a bit of a study on the usage of the courts over this summer? So next year, if this comes forward again, which I probably will, we actually have a bit of statistical information as well. I think it would be helpful when we are looking at building new courts, and, you know, if we do require more as a township, maybe we should be putting additional funds towards that if they're always being used. Is that the correct time? Could I ask for that? Or, okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just go to Manager Dean for a comment on the viability of such. Thank you, Manager Dean. You're on mute.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, through yourself to Councillor Alexander and the rest of council. I can definitely look into options for tracking it and see what options would be available and kind of best to hone in on the tracking and numbers at court for. So I would say, yes, we can look into options and get back to council on that.
Thank you very much. And at this time, Councillor Alexander, would that be an amendment to it or just looking for direction on that?
If we're okay with it as a friendly amendment, then I would like it as an amendment.
Thank you. And I just need a seconder for your amendment. Then we'll go back and forth. I'll go to the other side of the table. I have Councillor Fisher on that one. So we do have an amendment that the usage of Court 4 be monitored by recreational staff to ensure we have. You got the rest of that in there. Perfect. So all those in favor? And that amendment has carried. So we are now going back to option 1 as amended. And if there's any further comment or question on option 1, and seeing none, all those in favor? And option 1 has carried. Thank you. And at this time, we will pull item 10.3, our I will be pulling 10.3 and 10.8. At this time, I'll just ask it to have a mover and seconder for the rest of the reports. May I have a mover and seconders, Councillor Garwood and Thompson. That the action reports, is there any additional besides 10.3 and 10.8 to be pulled? Any comments on any of rest? No. That actions reports 10.2 through 10.8 be received with the exception of 10.3 and 10.8. That the recommendations contained herein be approved as presented. 10.2, 2023 final levy and taxes rate. 10.4 award tender of 2023-17 ISO 2022 State of Good Repair Roads Project Contract 2. 10.5 Swaley Drain Bylaw 2021-091 revisions. 10.6 award tender of the 2023-14 ISO rubber wheeled articulating loader. 10.7 award tender 2023-13 ISO supply for two 5-ton axle crew cab and dump body trucks. Are there any questions or discussions on those contained? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that has carried. And now we'll move back to 10.3. May I have a mover and seconder to approve the report regarding the outdoor digital signage policy? I have Deputy Cabral and Councillor Garwood that the report from the communications officer regarding the outdoor digital sign policy dated May 17th, 2023 be received, and that council approve the outdoor digital sign policy as presented. Are there any questions or comments for Officer Audette on this? Deputy Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I was going to actually ask to have this pulled in respect, and I thank Ms. McLean for coming out. And the reason for that is when we go back all the way to last year, I was actually approached by the Lions Club that they wanted to do the digital sign. And it seemed to be that Lions Club was looking at replacing the original sign that was there. And township was also on the move to kind of be looking at digital signs, but they yet hadn't connected. And at that time, I was in full support of the Lions Club, and I will admit I still am. They do fantastic work for the community, totally unselfless and always working hard. What I would prefer to see is two things, actually. Number one is that this report, I would like to propose an amendment that it be deferred so that staff has an opportunity to meet specifically with the Lions Club to ensure that the Lions Club's needs and concerns can be addressed and that maybe be incorporated into the policy. They put $20,000 into it, and I'm very thankful for them for doing that. But I think I would like to see for that particular sign that kind of an option. So that would be my amendment. The other one is just a comment per se. So maybe we could propose the amendment first.
Sure, that's a seconder for your amendment. Oops, Councillor Garwood. All those in favor? And that has carried.
Thank you. Just one more comment.
And the comment?
With respect to that, and I'm just curious to know, we do give out certificates and whatnot for significant milestones, turning 100 years old, people who have been married for an extraordinarily long period of time. I was just noticing in the policy that it did allude to the fact that no birthdays of a personal nature, but I'm wondering in those particular cases when we do have folks who reach that milestone and we are actually recognizing them on behalf of the township, if they did want to have that up there for a day or so on the day of, I'm wondering if that might be a consideration going forward, certainly up to the folks who are getting the certification. Just a thought, that was really one of the only things I wanted to speak to, but once again, I thank Ms. McLean for coming forward.
Thank you. I do have Officer Odette on. But I think that CEO Schmidt gets to go first. Sorry. CEO Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. Through you to members of council. I just wanted to make a comment regarding the Lions Club. As the report in front of council tonight, Appendix A does provide some documentation regarding conversations that have previously been had with the Lions Club. So again, well, obviously staff will take direction of council, but I want council and the public to know that there was conversations had previously. I don't want there to be this assumption that dialogue has not happened with the Lions Club previously. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And as this has been referred, there will be further communication with the Lions Club, and then the item will come back to council at a further date. Oh, my apologies. It's actually not on the table anymore. So that's when I was going back and forth looking and I was, yes. Typically there's a fulsome discussion prior to the referral, but at this point I have 10.8. May I have a mover and seconder to approve the report regarding the update on winter maintenance of Old 2nd South beyond Sutton Heights. I have Deputy Cabral and Councillor Moore. That the report from the engineering technologist regarding the update on the winter maintenance of Old 2nd South beyond Sutton Heights dated May 17th, 2023 be received, and that council endorse the original staff recommendation from the 2019-2023 staff report, namely the road surface remain as is, and that staff be directed to move forward with the use of a 4x4 pickup truck for winter maintenance on the stretch of roadway. And this was pulled. And I apologize, Councillor Fisher. And your microphone, Councillor Fisher.
I'd like to defer this, the decision on this into the June 7th, 2023 regular meeting.
And a seconder for the deferral. Councillor Moore. If I can ask Councillor Fisher, if I can just go to the rest of council to see if they do have any additional questions, because once the deferral's on there, it's off the table and we're no longer permitted. So if I can just hold that deferral and if there's any other questions or comments from anyone. Counselor Thompson?
Through the chair to General Manager Remdale. So this report states that the road improvements would be, the cost would be around $300,000. Is that correct?
GM Ramdeo?
Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Councillor Thompson. The 300,000 cost is just the cost for the pipeline company to take a look at what might be necessary to do their work. It's pre-engineering work. That's the 300,000. Cost of the pipeline relocation and the road construction would be over and above that 300,000.
And just to follow up, would there be an estimate on that cost?
GM Ramdeo?
Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Councillor Thompson. The pipeline company gave us a ballpark estimate. There are two pipelines at the top of the hill, and they've given us a ballpark estimate of $10 million per pipeline to relocate, plus the road construction cost.
I'm going to go follow on to Counselor Thompson and then Counselor
And
Fisher.
just a follow-on question. So if council approved something like this kind of expenditure, would there be some provision similar to the Swaley drain where the property owners will be responsible for some of the cost?
GM Ramdeo?
Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Councillor Thompson. That would be a decision of council, a direction of council, as to how to apportion that cost. Yes.
Counselor Fisher?
Through you to Manager Ramdeo, are we 100% certain at this point that those, I don't know why mine's correctly, I moved her away, so. Are we 100% certain at this point that those pipelines do need to be moved? And the reason I ask is I went to the location and walked the distance from the marked pipelines to the crest of the road, and I certainly don't profess to be an expert, but it's quite some distance. So do we know that that's an absolute necessity?
GM Ramdeo?
Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Councillor Fisher. The advice I've been given is yes, they would need to be relocated.
Deputy Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And actually, through you to General Manager Ramdale. I don't know if we still do it, but I know that there used to be a time where they would use actually the loader. I don't know whether or not that's still a possibility, but I'm just curious to know whether or not the loader might be potentially utilized for snow removal purposes up there, or is that too far for the loader to travel? They used to use it for some of the pump houses. I don't know if they still do, but it just came to mind now. So I'm just reaching out and asking you if that's a potential possibility.
GM Ramdeo?
Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Deputy Mayor Cabral. While it is a possibility, yes, given our existing loader needs within the yards, it likely will cause some operational issues in loading the other trucks. We believe that a 4x4, given the new 4x4s that we've got with the 4x4 drives, likely can make it down and likely will make it back up. So we'd like to attempt that.
Follow on, Deputy Cabral?
Thank you, General Manager Ramdeo. I certainly wasn't suggesting that we absolutely had to do that. I was looking at it as an option. If the 4x4s work, it's good to know that we do have another option. And I was also mindful of the fact that we have a third loader. So for loading sand on the trucks for winter maintenance, unless one of the loaders breaks down, I would expect that other loader, the third one, the reserve one, might be available. That's the reason I brought it up. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other comments or questions, I will return to Counselor Fisher for his deferral, which was seconded by Counselor Moore, I believe. All those in favor? And that has been deferred. We're now moving on to our information items. May I have a mover and seconder to receive the information reports? We have number 5 pulled already. I think the mover and seconder, I had Counselor Moore and Counselor Garwood. Are there any additional items to be pulled? Counselor Cabral, or sorry, Deputy Cabral?
No, just a question with respect to the information items, in particular, Number 5, the Sunday gun hunting. Are we looking for staff to come back? I was wondering if staff would be looking at getting some public input on that before we move forward with it.
Thank you. And number 5 has been pulled, so we will, when that's pulled, we can address that at the time. Any additional to be pulled? And seeing none. I had a mover and seconder already, right? Yes, thank you. That the reports listed herein be received for information. 1, Building Service Monthly Activity Report of April 2023. 2, Bylaw Services Monthly Activity Report of April 2023. 3, the update on the Rainbow Crosswalk in Elmville. 4, Dead End Roads Winter Maintenance. 5 has been pulled. 6, implementation of the new consolidated linear infrastructure environmental compliance approvals, regulation and stormwater and sanitary infrastructure. 7, ministerial delegations for the 2023 AMO conference. And 8, the MAMP grant data collection for the storm network assets. Councillor Cabral or Deputy Cabral?
Sorry, Mayor Coughlin, I would like to actually, if it's possible, still to pull the Dead End Roads Winter Maintenance information report.
Thank you. Yes, and therefore it will be the reports listed with the exception of 4 and 5. Are there any further comments or questions? And seeing none, all those in favor? And that has carried. We will now move on to information item number 4, the Dead End Roads. Find. Right. I will move now, moved by Deputy Cabral, seconded by I just need a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Moore. That information item regarding the dead end roads. And at this point, I will go to Deputy Cabral for his question.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. On reading this, there's actually a significant number of dead end roads that we were looking at. The ones I was initially concerned with were the ones I was familiar with, and they would be a couple, and they're listed here. 4 other roads: Malcolm Street, Clute Street, Thurlow Street, and McGinnis Court. They don't have sufficient space for a tandem truck to turn around in, and these roads are actually, I believe, maintained in the wintertime by use of, I guess it'd be the 1 ton with a plow, if I'm not mistaken. These ones here, in particular, the ones in the Elmville area, really don't go anywhere. And I notice on here that we do have an option to close up and not provide that maintenance. And I'm wondering if we might consider that, because at the end of the day, what we tend to be doing is we're plowing a stretch of roadway that really is nothing more than a driveway for the folks who live there. And I know that on 92 there for Clute and Thurlow and the other one there, Malcolm, part of the problem is that the operator has to back out onto 92, to be quite frank. And when that's happening, the operator is exposing himself to risk from other vehicles. So I would like to have this go back to staff to come back and advise us what would the process be to actually close these roads down so that we didn't provide winter maintenance for them anymore. So that's what I would like to have happen.
And I will go get a seconder. And GM Aramdeo, is there any comment on that before I get a seconder? No. And a seconder for the referral. And that again is Councillor Fisher. All those in, or is any further comment or question? You need me to actually read it out. Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And there was one other thing I just thought of with respect to this. I'd also like, if it's at all possible, because we do track what roads are plowed in the wintertime, if it might be possible for through you to Mayor Coughlin to General Manager Ramdale, if it's at all possible to look at maybe the last 2 or 3 years, see how many times those roads were plowed and what the cost might be. That it is costing us to maintain those tiny stretches, in particular these 4 roads. If that's at all possible, I think that would be very good, because we're spending a lot of money that maybe we don't need to, and they're tax dollars. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Cabral, and Clerk Ainsworth does have wording here for us.
Thank you. The proposed wording for the amendment to receive the report would be that staff be directed to report back on the process and potential to close and stop up the dead end roads being maintained by the township, and further that staff estimate costing of maintenance of these roads.
Council hearing that? Oh, GM Ramdeo does have a quick comment here.
Through you, Mayor Coughlin, one question, is it all dead end roads or just those 4?
Thank you, Deputy Cabral.
Yes, thank you. We have dead end roads like Partridge where there are people living on it. The bottom of the town line at the north end, we have a couple of farms down there too on our side of that road, and we do plow it. I'm more concerned with the ones that, to be quite frank with you, they're basically driveways. Something in the neighborhood of less than 100 meters would actually be too much. I would be looking somewhere in the neighborhood, if I think about McGinnis, and I think about Thurlow, I think about Clute, they are all very short stretches of right of way that really go not much further than the backyards or to the garages that are there. I wouldn't expect it to happen on any of the roads. There's plenty of dead ends that are listed here off of Ronald Road there. I'm not sure. Frolic, I think, goes all the way down there, and there's people living on those. So not those particular roads that are significant stretches that really should be maintained. These tend to be basically we're plowing a driveway. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Ainsworth.
Thank you. And just for clarification for the motion, if I may, to General Manager Ramdeo, would that be the 4 identified within the report? Is that what I can note within the motion?
GM Ramdeo.
Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Clerk Ainsworth. Yes, those 4, and possibly, as Deputy Mayor Cabral noted, Deputy Mayor, 100 meters?
Deputy Cabral.
Thank you. I think General Manager Ramdale, that your staff would be capable to recognize which ones. I think I've framed it enough that we kind of get a sense of which ones would be the ones that we're plowing, and we're basically plowing somebody's driveway for the entire winter. So thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Ainsworth, I can ask you just to read this one more time for council before we vote.
Thank you. And I might seek further clarification. That staff be directed to report back on the process and potential to close and stop up the 4 dead end roads identified within the report, as well as other potentially appropriate roads being maintained by the township, and further that staff estimate costing on maintenance of these roads.
I'm seeing heads nodding in both directions here. So council, all those in favor? And that has carried. We'll now move on to the main motion as amended. Are you able to read that as well? Clerk Ainsworth?
Thank you. The main motion as amended would read that the report item listed herein be received as information. Number 4, dead end roads, winter maintenance, and that staff be directed to report back on the process and potential to close and stop up the 4 dead end roads identified within the report, as well as other potentially appropriate roads being maintained by the township, and further that staff estimate costing on maintenance of these roads.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that has carried. And we will now move on to Sunday gun hunting. And I have Councillor Thompson, who has pulled this, and a seconder as Deputy Cabral. And I can now go to Councillor Thompson for a comment.
This amendment or proposal came from a resident that is a local business owner. He works very hard. He works 6 days a week, and he's made a request that he'd like to hunt locally with his kids on a Sunday. I know in the staff report, they did say that they get each hunting season, they get regular requests to hunt in our community in Sunday, and I would like to table an amendment tonight for a vote to allow this to happen.
We have opportunity just to discuss the report prior to. Other comments from members of the public? I have Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Personally, myself, I don't have a problem with it. However, it's not about what I might have a problem with or not. I do have to recognize that the complexion of Springwater Township is changing. Many of the folks that are moving into Springwater Township are from more urban centralized areas. And, for them, hunting is still somewhat foreign. I recall prior life, a number of times getting called because someone was actually taking a rifle down the road to go to the sporting goods store where they bought it for service. Of course, the police would be called. So I think there's two components here that I would like to see addressed before we actually vote to say yay or nay. And one of them would be some kind of outreach to residents to find out. I mean, if nobody's opposed, it's a moot point. The other would be to also look at, as we all had our presentation from the OPP here, the billing model is comprised of two components, a static component for overall services that we're entitled to have. It was also a component that dealt with calls for service. And I think the best way for us to approach this would be to find out and then educate. Find out, A, if there's any objection to it. If there's not, we really do need to do a lot of education so that we can mitigate the calls for service that are going to basically cost us money down the road unnecessarily. So I guess what I'd be looking for is actually a deferral so that staff have an opportunity to come back with a further report on those specific issues.
Thank you, Deputy Cabral. And I guess my statement earlier of members of the public was, again, just to engage the public, whether it's a public open house or, I mean, we've had one for our trails, we're having one for our recreation master plan. I think that having an open house or some sort of forum where residents can come in and be heard, because it might not just be those who are opposed, it's the same people that have been asking for us to open up Sundays for the last, well, as long as I've been here anyway. So, sorry, I'll go to Clerk Ainsworth to see what that would look like.
Thank you. And through you to council, I would like to just advise council, there are 2 intakes every year for the province to make an amendment to the regulation to allow the Sunday gun hunting. With public consultation, council would just need to be aware that we would not be able to make the July 1st date for the fall intake. Any public consultation would result in the township seeking approval at the February 1st, 2024 intake.
Thank you for that. And back to Councillor Thompson. Yeah, so we don't have anything on the table at this moment. So what we have heard here this evening is that members of council are seeking or wishing to seek public consultation in order to make this decision. Clerk Ainsworth has made us aware that there is a deadline. I personally don't feel pressured by that deadline. I think that this is a significant decision and one that's going to impact many people. So at this time, Clerk Ainsworth, do you have a motion to have staff? All right. That the motion before council be amended as follows, that staff are directed to conduct a public consultation seeking residents' comments regarding the allowance to permit Sunday gun hunting and to report back to council. Councillor Thompson, does that suffice? Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Garwood. All those in favor? And that has carried. And now we're on to verbal reports, and I will go to GM Ramdeo for our development update.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. This evening, I have one update in terms of development. The developers have restarted their site works, land clearing works for their subdivisions, and the weather has been quite dry. So given that there's been some complaints with dust, there will be some complaints with dust. To mitigate that, the developers have been instructed to use water to wet down on a regular basis, daily basis, and also look at the usage of dust suppression chemicals to spray onto the soil, similar to what we use on our roadways, to aid with that. So that's my update for this evening.
Thank you. And Deputy Cabral for our county update.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I'll have to defer this to Councillor Moore, who attended in my stead. Thank you.
My apologies, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I appreciate the opportunity to attend county for their most recent meeting. There was 2 presentations, one from Lakehead University that was very similar to the presentation we received not long ago. And also there was a presentation from their paramedics, their paramedic programs, and they outlined their partnerships, many partnerships that they have in the community and the expansion of those. There was the tour of the Lake Simcoe Regional Airport. I did not attend, but the mayor attended. But it was a short meeting, and that was the highlight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I can elaborate. It was quite fascinating, actually. They brought us into the main hangar, and they have a partnership with Cartwell now. So it's typically the Lake Simcoe Regional Airport used to be more like a en route that we would pop in and out on the highway. It's now becoming a full service airport, which is going to, again, attract. The most fascinating was that we went there into the aerodrome area and they showed us just the technology that they're developing there. And they had the fire bots. So they actually had sent 2 of them out west right now that are fighting fires that were created here in Simcoe County. They had the drones that they're used for security and surveillance that they can put anywhere. And it was spectacular. So it's quite fascinating that this is happening so close to home and right here in Simcoe County. So thank you for that. Are there any municipal updates from members of council? Councillor Thompson.
Would like to recognize the great work of our Springwater Township Public Library. Their recent first place finish in the annual TD Summer Reading Club program. This national award comprises a plaque and an $8,000 gift to our library for the use in the children's area of the library. They had 367 children participate in this program, and they read over 155,000 minutes. So just would like to recognize CEO Delgado for a great job and our amazing staff of the Springwater Library. Would also like to thank Chief Kirk and all of our amazing volunteer firefighters for the awards night on Friday nights and for their hospitality and for the invitation. Would like to thank them and thank them for keeping our community safe. I think they're out as we speak on a major event, and would like to recognize them and thank them.
Thank you. Any other updates? Councillors Alexander and then Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank Sharon Chambers and Ralph Craddock for their donation of $8,545.54, which is a huge amount for us to the Phelpston CRA from the Outhouse Race Committee. The Outhouse races were a hugely successful fundraising event in Phelpston. I believe it was through a 5-year period from the late 80s to the early 90s. Sharon and Ralph brought a variety of photos, newspaper articles, all the way from like the Toronto Star from the events. And it was truly amazing to look over and just how successful these events were. So I would really like to thank them for their donation.
Thank you. Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a few things. I wanted to congratulate the Elmvale Food Bank on their Smile Cookie campaign at the local Tim Hortons in Elmvale from May 1st through 7th. I know many members of council went out and decorated some cookies. Councillor Alexander and I had some fun. I'm not going to speak for you, Councillor Alexander, but I'm definitely no baker, so I'll stay away from the cookies, but congratulations to that group. I also wanted to congratulate the Elmvale McDonald's on McHappy Day, which was on May 10th. Funds and proceeds collected throughout the day will be donated to the Midland Hospital for a new MRI machine, along with the Ronald McDonald House. And Councillor Thompson and I had some fun on the drive-through that day, and I believe Councillor Alexander was there as well. I wanted to congratulate the EDHS students, staff, and council for everyone for attending the Rainbow Pride Crosswalk opening last Friday. I know there was a lot of very happy and excited people that day. And I just want to wrap up my municipal update with a mention that the Elmvale Relay for Life is going to be happening next Friday, May the 26th. That'll be happening on the Floss Agricultural Society Fairgrounds. I believe it starts at 6 p.m. and goes till 6 a.m. I'll be there, and I wanted to thank the committee for organizing that. So I know that's a great event. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further? At this time, I'm just going to ask CEO Schmidt to turn his screen on for us. CEO Schmidt has been invited. That he's not with us in person this evening because Scott Boakey of the Ontario Municipal Administrators Association has asked our CAO to speak to our 4-day work week, his leadership and his vision here. So congratulations to you on that invitation. And I hope you have a little bit of fun while you're there too.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Thank you, members of council.
And we will now move on. Is there any notices of motion? Councillor Thompson?
So I would, through the chair, request a staff report back with options for seed container use for our residents.
Are there any other notices of motion? Items for future consideration? All right. We will move on to our bylaws then. May I have a mover and seconder to approve the bylaws? I have Councillors Garwood and Deputy Cabral. The bylaws listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. 2023-050 appointment bylaw for the summer students. 2023-051 appointment bylaw for our deputy chief building official. 2023-052 for our Swaley Drain financial cost revision Schedule C. 2023-053 2023 final tax levy bylaw, and 5000-370 ZB 2023-007 Trace 2080 Floss Road 11 West. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. May I have a mover and seconder for the confirmation bylaw? Councillors Fisher and Moore, that bylaw 2023-54 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on May 17th listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? And that has carried. And may I have a mover and seconder to adjourn the meeting, please? Councillors Thompson and Garwood, that the regular meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 7:47 p.m. to meet again in regular session on June 7th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you.